Audrey Wiggins, and welcome to another webisode of Make Something Happen. I'm excited, I'm enthusiastic, all of those big old words and means enough just ecstatic to have Maia Beatty in the studio today. And I'm just so excited. She's going to be sharing with her from her book, Dance Into Your Power. And the subheading is A Woman's Journey to Powerful Presence. So I'm excited that you're here today. Thanks again for coming. And look forward to our interview.
Absolutely. And I'm so pleased that you wore the outfit that matches the book, because that's just so awesome.
Thank you. It's like I'm modeling your picture. Fantastic. Yes, you always have to be in order.
That's true. That's true.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Maia Beatty is the Powerful Presence trainer and coach. She is the principal of Discover Your Powerful Presence, and it's a division of Maia Beatty and Associates Incorporated, which is a training and coaching firm in Akron, Ohio. Her mission is to help people identify, access, and claim their powerful presence. And that's what we're going to learn more about today. And she's going to tell us about her journey, and that's going to weave a story. And I always like stories to get us to where we need to be. So Maia, go ahead and let's start. I know we talked about the family dynamic, as I was reading. So get us started there.
Well, my favorite story to tell about the family dynamic is that 43 years ago, on Monday, October 15th, it will be 43 years since I ran away from home with the clothes on my back, $30 in my pocket as a 17-year-old.
Wow.
That's what most people say. Wow.
Yes, but that sounds scary.
Well, yeah.
Tragic.
Yeah. Well, and I have to tell you that in 1969, it wasn't as scary as it would be now. And of course, as a 17-year-old, I had no fear at all.
Yes.
And so in 1969, there were a lot of things in place that helped me. I had a job.
Okay.
I was very fortunate. I had a job. My boyfriend, whose mother was part of the Polish-American community in Poughkeepsie, New York, where I lived.
Okay.
Had a friend, because somebody always has a friend who has a friend, who had an apartment building.
Wow. 3
apartments right next to his barber shop.
Okay.
$42 a month.
Can you imagine?
For a 3-room apartment. So I ran away from home on November 1st, I had my own apartment. I was working 20 hours at the drugstore. I had 40 hours. I made $60 a week.
Wow.
My rent was $42 a month.
Well, that sounds, the budgeting, that sounds pretty good.
I'm telling you, that was
there you go.
Now, if you just don't buy meat, I didn't buy meat, so I got kind of vegetarian. But it was exciting. It was exciting. I thought that I was just all that, as we say, in a bag of those chips.
Yes.
And what I did not realize is that courage and creativity was just one little seed in me.
Yes.
What I lacked was, understanding of the way the world works, understanding of myself, and what I would need to actually get to the place where I've come to now. So my journey is all about finding out that, okay, just because you're 17 and you're smart and you've got, as we say in Texas, cojones, that's just your ante to get in the game.
Yes.
So the rest of it really actually took me 20 years of just sort of failing forward.
Okay.
Falling down in every dark place, just about every dark place you can go. And what I love about reporting that now is that there's no sting.
Okay.
The sting of those dark places is gone, and it doesn't show on me. I mean,
No,
what
absolutely.
shows on me is joy.
Yes.
What shows on me is power and happiness and gratitude.
Absolutely.
And hopefully some humbleness, but just pure joy.
Yes.
So I started out my journey with joy.
Okay.
Yes! And very shortly I got to, some difficult circumstances.
We'll share some of that. We're going to take our first break.
Absolutely.
And then start to tell the story of that part of it. We'll take it from there, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. We'll be right back with Maia.
Did you know that your opinion matters? Did you know that your vote really counts? Well, it does, at least as soon as you apply this right. But what's a right anyway if you never use it? It's yours and nobody can take it from you, right? Wrong. By not having what you need in order to vote, you allow this right to be taken away, which is un-American, unjust, and unfair. Take a stand. Go to www.project5millionvoterid.com. Place your mark in the history today.
We're back now with Maia Beatty. Maya, before we left off, you were about to start to tell us about you've gone from joy to darkness.
Some dark places.
Yes, because because you're young. It's I'm gonna run away and I'm my own person. I can do my own thing. But then you soon realize, that life is more. It's more to having that freedom than we thought.
Absolutely. So I think the first part of the darkness is to understand that there was a great big hole in me.
Mm-hmm.
There was a great big hole in me, and I came to actually experience my own shame.
Mm-hmm.
I discovered in the 80s an organization called Adult Children of Alcoholics.
Okay.
I'm 100% Irish, and I'm so proud to be Irish. And one of the exciting challenges that we Irish face is there's alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
Runs very strongly in our families.
Okay.
So I have alcoholism in both sides of my family, on my mother's side and my father's side. And so there's a dynamic in terms of, that sort of background.
Okay.
That there are, and you have to think about my father's grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Both sets of my father's grandparents came over on a boat to New York City.
Wow.
One grandfather was a porter,
Okay.
and one grandfather was a janitor.
All right.
Now, for my father, just 2 generations later, to be a PhD in philosophy, there's some stuff that has to happen there.
Oh,
And there's
yes.
some things that we have to hide about who we really are, okay? My mother's people, my mother's mother came over, my mother's grandmother came over on a boat because her parents had died. One was Catholic, one was Protestant. Their families disowned them.
Wow.
So my mother's grandmother came over as a girl on a
Okay.
boat. Now you got to get grief and
Mhm.
pain and loss and tragedy and not a lot of
Yes.
money and
Mm-hmm.
and so my mother was the granddaughter of a woman who lost both her sons and wanted boys. And so my mother had to just prove just how cool she was. She had 2 brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my father trying to do better than his parents and grandparents.
Right.
And my mother just going, you know what? Every bit as good as any boy. And here she is growing up in the 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Wow.
So
That's
just, and when you,
amazing.
you know what I mean? So you put it
Yes.
in that context.
Mhm.
Not bad people, really
Right.
wonderful people with pain
Mhm.
and sorrow and stuff that they didn't actually really want to handle.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out in other ways.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So
it
in
comes
my
out.
generation, I'm the oldest child.
Okay.
When I was 2 years old, there were 3 kids. My sister Deirdre is my Irish twin. She was 3 weeks old on my first birthday. Okay. And then my sister Susan, and then both sets of grandparents said, really, you have to stop that. My mother got sick, and then 2 more kids, and then a third. So 6 children in all. And a mother who has MS, and a father who is working on his PhD and teaching. And there's just really no room for you to be anything other than obedient, which it was the one thing I just really wasn't good at.
That was not your strong
It's just not my strong suit. It was being obedient. So, there's things that families will use to keep very bright, very rambunctious. Oh, and let me add the ADHD, which we had no name for.
There's no name.
There was no name. So I ran away from home in 1969, and shortly thereafter they named it for boys.
Okay.
It wasn't until 1994 they named it for girls. So it was just, you know how she is, that
Right.
girl. Yeah.
But that's kind of helped you.
And here's my
success.
favorite thing to tell you, Audrey.
Okay.
Every single thing that happened in my life has brought me to this moment in front of you. How cool is that?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
things that look like tragedies and dark places, they were in the moment.
Mhm.
And what I have come to realize is that that's part of my powerful presence. So who I am today is completely a function of where I've come from and where I've been and what I had to learn to overcome. So the thing that the book is about is, there's a quote that a Romanian philosopher named Mircea Eliade, and you've probably seen his name. I always thought it was a woman, but it's a guy.
All right.
And his quote is, "A life cannot be repaired. It can only be recreated."
Yeah. Say that again.
A life can never be repaired. It can only be recreated.
Yes.
So what I am so joyful about in my life today is that I couldn't repair that life. There was no repairing.
Yeah.
Not for my parents or my grandparents or my siblings who had different experiences than I had. But I recreated my life And that's the power. And the other power is I'm no different than anyone else. So I'm not special.
I know what you mean.
Every one of us has the potential to recreate his or her life. And what the journey to powerful presence is about is the things I learned along the way that allowed me to transform my shame and not being obedient and being too tall and not being right. You know, that girl's just not right.
Or was one word when I was reading in the book that your father called you, that you, as soon as you were able, then you looked it up in the dictionary, that was one of the D words, despicable. Oh my goodness.
And you can imagine, you know, and both my parents are passed. And my father and I have a great relationship now that he's dead. That sounds so silly, but what it speaks to is the forgiveness and the peace that transcends death.
That's right.
So I actually have compassion for him. In fact, I had a conversation with him just before he died. My husband had colon cancer. And my father had a wife who was sick the whole time. He had 6 kids. You have to get that. Although my experience of him as a child was being battered, you know, being yelled at and being beaten. When I look at it as an adult, I understand his pain. I understand his suffering. And I understand that he was doing the very best he could with what he had.
That's right.
And no harm, no foul. Didn't work for me when I was a kid, and look what he gave me. I mean, and look what he gave me. So, you know, there's peace that transcends circumstances.
Yes.
And to me, that's about powerful presence. And I learned that.
Okay. That's awesome. This is a great place to take a break.
Hi, I'm Dr. Howard Cohn, and I'm here to tell you about the key to alkalizing your body, and that's our 7.2 greens. This product is amazing. You'll never find anything else like it on the market. This thing has taken so much time to put together to get it exactly the way we want it, so that you can literally eat it out of your hand, out of the container. Most people know that if they eat greens, they're going to be healthier. They start doing it, they do it for a day or two, they try wheatgrass or they try eating spinach or broccoli, and they go, you know what? I can't do this. It tastes like I'm licking the bottom of my lawnmower. And they stop. They know it's good, but they stop and they don't do it. We've engineered these greens to taste amazing. I can't wait for you to try them. Our 7.2 greens are made with all organic ingredients, certified organic ingredients. Our cereal grasses, which are barley grass, oat grass, alfalfa, and wheatgrass, all organic. Our alkalizing vegetables of parsley, broccoli sprouts, spinach, kale, cabbage, carrot, and more, all organic. Our flavoring, which is apple and raspberry, organic. And even our Lohan berry, all natural sweetener. No algae, no soy fillers, no artificial flavors, no colors, no sweeteners. There is nothing on the market like this. I've tried literally hundreds of greens products, all a disappointment. I've had tons of patients say they can't do it. For the first time ever, we have a greens product that people will not only take, but they'll love. I can't wait for you to try it.
We're back again with Maia Beatty. Maya, we left off, we were talking a little bit about that family dynamic and, you know, how you were raised and as, you know, in the mind of a 17-year-old or even younger, you know, as your journey of being a child in the home. You didn't see the other side of that. All you can see was your side.
Absolutely.
You know, the pain, you know, what you were experiencing and to know now, after it's all said and done, that you know your parents and your dad, he was doing the best he could do at the time with what he had.
Absolutely.
And at any given time, that's true for all of us. But you're here to help us, you know, to be able to experience that and to realize, you know, so we can come in and be into our powerful presence, learn to dance with those things along the way. So enough about, you know, my little chitter chatter.
Oh, that's right. You nailed it. You nailed it, Audrey. I mean, the piece that what you just said, you captured everything that book's about.
Awesome.
It is about. It's not just about me. So everything in this book is highly transferable to everybody else's life.
That's key.
So if my specialty is to help people to identify, access, and claim their powerful presence, Well, there's things that will help you do that are in the book.
Okay.
So there are distinctions, like the distinction that we just made, that even though my childhood was very difficult and I had a very hard time, and for 20 years after I left home was still working through those pieces of pain, and the distinction that I can make now is that my father and my mother were doing the best they could. That's a distinction.
Okay.
It changes the way. So remember, you can't repair the damage, you can only recreate. So when you have a distinction, that allows you to go, oh, I see. They did the best they could. And they didn't mean what happened to me.
Right.
It wasn't about that. You know, it was a family system.
So stop being a victim.
So absolutely. I was, and I've said to people, you know, I think it's funny, really, that my life's work, because this is my life's work in a book.
Oh.
This is my whole life in a book. And I was raised to be a victim. Now that wasn't their intention. They didn't, you know, all right, we're going to raise our children to be victims. That isn't their intention at all.
That's right.
And the circumstances led me to choose that way. And so when I decided to, when I ran away from home, I'm not going to be a victim of this anymore.
Right.
And then it took me 20 more years to say, oh, and there were other things I didn't even see till I got out that I will no longer be a victim of.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
So I got out of 2 marriages because it's like, so I'm happy to report, people are hearing 2 marriages, really? Okay. My 3rd marriage of 22 years, love of my life. And I only got to be in that kind of a relationship because I spent 20 years
That's right.
working through those, fixing that hole in me.
Yes.
Fixing that hole in me. And maybe that's really what our job is in the world, is to fix the holes.
Yes.
You know? I just got that Beatles song in my head. Did you get that Beatles song in your head? I'm just showing my age. Yeah. Fixing a hole. Yes, that's our work.
Yes,
And that's, I think that's what this book will help people do. So distinction is one thing.
Okay.
Distinction is, they didn't mean for me to be a victim, and I was.
Right.
Okay. The next thing is access. Well, how can you access it? Like, how can you access your power? Well, you have to actually understand that everything you do has a structure.
Okay.
So one of the things that I am trained in and that I'm passionate about is something called neuro-linguistic programming.
All right.
NLP for short. And it's about the study.
Quick Google it. Okay.
Quick Google it. Yes, NLP. Oh, really? It's the science of the structure of experience.
Okay.
So we're studying the structure. So there's a structure for me being a victim.
Okay.
There's a particular way I act. Things I believe, things that, you know, are my opinions about things, my experiences, they help me to stay a victim.
Okay.
It's all about my behavior. There's a structure to my being powerful.
Okay.
That's what I'm teaching people. There's a structure. Here are the things that will help. You can do this, 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 and this to access your power. Here's where it lives, because of course it lives inside you.
Right.
So there's a structure to everything. And once you make some distinctions, you start to see some structures that you didn't see before. And then the strategies are, okay, now how do you claim it? How do you claim your power? How do you say, this is what I'm going to do in my life. This is what I'm going to do in my day. And even if you fall down, because you will, I fall down. I teach this stuff.
Right.
I fall down. And when I fall down, I get right back up. I go, you know, girl, you're down. Get back up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas before, I'd be on the ground going, I'm on the ground now. And
somebody, you know, come, you know,
Come
pat me on the
fix me.
shoulder. Right, right. Or come
and
fix
help me.
Right.
Help
Yes.
me. Help me. Yeah. So distinction, structures, and strategies I've been taught, and also some of them I just made up because I have ADHD.
Okay.
And one of the cool things about ADHD is that you actually really can't take anybody else's word for it because it doesn't make sense to you. So hence, I'm not really that obedient because it just doesn't make sense to me. Let this make a whole lot more sense.
Let me figure this out myself.
So it's like, just because somebody told me something,
Yes.
you know, I was in school once. This is one of my husband's favorite stories. So I'm in school. This is my 3rd school. I'm in 4th grade. This is my 3rd different school. So I'm the new kid and I don't know anybody. And you know when you're that age, it really matters. So clearly, I'm an outcast. And
Right.
Frankly. And this was my first public school. I was raised Catholic and that's one of the Catholic schools. And now I'm in public school. You know, I don't know about public school. So my lovely teacher, In my family, there's an Irish contraction for am not, amn't.
Oh, okay.
So you say, no, I amn't. That's a very Irish word.
All right.
Now, there's people who say, no, I aren't, but amn't is a very Irish word. So I said amn't in class, and my teacher said, that's not a contraction. And I said, yes, it is. And she said, no, it's not. And I said, yes, it is. And she said, I want you to go upstairs and look it up in the dictionary.
Okay.
All right, we have a dictionary in our house, great big huge dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
And I go up to the library and I can't find the word. And I come back down and I say, just because it wasn't in the dictionary
Still
doesn't mean it isn't a real word. Because it's a real word in my family.
Yes.
And so, not obedient in school, not obedient at home.
Just have a rough time at it.
And so I want people and really one of the things I would really love for those of you who have children with ADHD, I want you to know that yes, they can grow up to be successful and powerful and wonderful,
Yes.
even if it's a little difficult for you right now. I really want to be the poster child for
Absolutely.
that because a lot of kids, they just need to do it their own way. So the benefit of ADHD to me is because I had to create everything from the inside out.
Okay.
It helped me to be able to show other people how it works. Okay.
And you had the ingenuity to do that. I mean, that's amazing.
Well, and that's ADHD. I mean,
Okay.
I just put that on ADHD.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
that's how our brains are wired.
All right.
We are wired to. There's a guy who wrote a wonderful book. The name escapes me, but you can look it up. And I'll tell you these two terms. He says, ADHD is like hunter brain. So think about when we lived in caves, and you had to go out and you had to be sure that you could watch everything around you, like 360 around you. And if you were going out to get lunch, you had to make sure you didn't become lunch.
Right.
So that's a hunter. So you have to be able to see far and see close and see all around. You don't sit still in a classroom.
Right.
You're not quiet. You're not obedient. You're out there. Okay, well we're hardwired neurologically like that.
Okay.
And I love that term, hunter brain. And then there's farmer brain. And farmer brain are the folks who get up every day and plow the fields and do the same thing. They can sit quietly if they need to. They're waiting for things to grow. They don't go, come on, come on, come on. It's like they have to be quiet. They have to wait. There's I think it's Ecclesiastes. There's a time for this and a time for that.
Right.
Very farmer brain.
Okay.
Hunters are like, okay, what's happening here? What are we doing? Okay, not here, not here.
Let's go get some.
Let's go get some. Okay. So the benefit of ADHD for me is I can show you the path.
Okay.
I've taken the journey. I haven't been sitting still. I've been on the path, and there's no path that anyone, my clients in my class or my coaching clients, there's no place you can go that I haven't been. And if I haven't been exactly there, I've been somewhere like that.
Right, with the experience, the outcome.
That absolutely. And so it might be your first time there.
Okay.
But I've been there, and I'm not afraid.
Okay.
And that was a benefit.
All right. We'll be right back after this message. We're back now with Maia Beatty. Maya was setting up. You were talking about the benefits of your ADHD and how that's help you to to come to the person that you are, being able to use that to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
In a positive way.
Absolutely.
Saying that. So tell us, so taking from there and understanding that, because there's a lot of folks out there, with that, as younger people not knowing, what direction to go, the parents, and, I do know some folks, with either have the children or they themselves, and
Right.
even, a person who refuses to go and get diagnosed, but they don't want to know it, they don't want to take medicine. I'm like, maybe you can learn something, from this, and so you can be successful. But anyway, enough about that. But so getting back to dancing, so we can dance into our power, and that's what you've done. You've taken that and you've danced with those 4 letters.
Well, the thing that is so wonderful about dancing, because I came to dancing really late.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll just say I just had my 60th birthday. And
She
I want
looked
you that comes from being loved by Chuck Beatty for 22 years. That shows all over me.
I've got to meet this husband.
He's awesome. He's love of my life. And my business partner, vice president of details of my company,
Mm-hmm.
the designer of my book, and of all 5 of my books. So,
yes, I was going to mention, we were talking before about your book. This is
book
your
number
5th
5.
book. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so the piece about dancing, I really want to say the dancing piece, because journey, started when I was 17, 20 years failing forward, 20 years into my journey when I was 37 years old, I had the great good fortune of being hired to speak by this guy named Chuck Beatty. I worked at Exxon, and I was doing a program called Stress Arrestor, and apparently, and he still tells people that he fell in love with me over the phone.
Wow.
So whenever you meet him, just go, how did you meet her? Just and so for the last 22 years, we've been doing what he suggested was, he said, I think you should do your dream and you should let me help you.
Woo. Now that is powerful. It's like he showed up, or you both showed up at the right time.
Yeah, one of our good friends, Tracy
Amazing.
Washington, was talking about, you were created, there's a purpose for you
Yes.
on the planet. So I know that over those 20 years, I was getting better, making decisions, work with some therapists, work with some coaches, was involved with adult children of alcoholics, was a substance abuse counselor myself for 8 years. And I learned so much in the recovery community about what it takes to build a person from the inside out.
Yeah.
So adult children, anyone who is in that circumstance of substance abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I was 37, I said, I will be married again. I will find the love of my life. And I remember telling my second husband, you know what? Someone's going to meet me and fall so much in love with me, they're just going to fall down. And I spoke that because I wanted someone to love me that much.
Yes.
So I was ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wasn't as ready as I am now because it took me at least the first 5 years, to actually believe it. So here's this wonderful human being, and still there's work to be done. It's not like instant, like here he is, and there's work to be done. So we had our own dance to do, and I wasn't dancing. Now, Chuck and I would dance in our living room with no music, just dancing because we could. And I always thought I was a secret dancer. So one of the things I can tell you is that you can take a journey, you can walk it, you can crawl it, you can trudge it, you can climb it, you can fly it, and all those things will get you a different experience on your journey.
Okay.
But when you dance it, it's a whole nother Oprah. So I met a lovely dance instructor. Her name is Jennifer McDonald. She's here. She has a Martell Dance Studio in Akron. And I had lunch with her after I finished this book. And because I wanted to talk to a real dancer. And I will tell you my inspiration in 1 second. But she looked at me and she said, "You're a dancer." And I'm thinking, really? Okay. And here is a professional dancer who's been dancing since she was a child. And she said, "You're a dancer." And because I had said to her, I can't not move. When there's music, I can't not move. She said, "You think a dancer is doing somebody else's steps. A dancer is a person who's doing their own steps because they can't not. And what she helped me to remember is that if you can walk, you can dance.
Okay.
It's a choice. So there's a guy, another Google moment. There's a movie called Mad Hot Ballroom, which is a true story about a man named Pierre Dulaine, ballroom dancer for a long, long time, who went into the New York City public schools and taught folks in, PS 136, kids who didn't have a whole lot, how to ballroom dance. And he says that dancing is a vehicle for living. And so remember, crawl, trudge, climb, whatever. When you dance, your energy is completely different. So then I saw Antonio Banderas in a movie about Pierre Dulaine called Take the Lead. Please see it. It's so awesome. And I thought, oh man, okay. So I was teaching my class called PowerSpeak.
Okay.
So I teach people who are terrified of speaking the distinctions, structures, and strategies to really feel confident. So it's like I'm doing this dancing, but I'm not calling it dancing.
Right.
So all of my classes since 1987 are about how to identify, access, and claim your power in whatever, as a communicator, as a speaker, just in your life. But I'm not dancing. I'm not out of the closet about dancing.
Right.
Okay? I just dance for myself so nobody will tell me I can't do it because that's what I heard growing up. Just sit down, don't try that, you can't do it. So I take belly dancing.
Oh, awesome.
I take belly dancing. I'm 52 years old, and I take it because it's the thing that scares me the most.
Okay.
So how can I feel what my PowerSpeak folks are feeling? Because I'm not scared to speak,
Right.
but I want to walk in their shoes.
That's right.
So I take a belly dancing class. And let me tell you, I am Frankenstein's sister. I am, you might not be able to tell, I am 6 feet tall. All these young women who are in class, they're all little bitty, they're like a real size for a girl. And they've taken ballet, and I'm like, because I'm so tight, I'm so scared, and I said to myself, you know what, Pierre Dulaine said, if you can walk, you can dance, and this is my last chance.
Yeah.
And I can't not do this. So there's a wonderful place in Akron, Ohio called Visions of the Nile, owned by a woman whose dance name is Amina,
Okay.
and a wonderful teacher, and she actually gave me private lessons.
That's cool.
And here's what I learned from Amina, which is a really important thing about this book. She says that every great dancer, no matter what kind of dancer they are, has 5 or 6 natural moves that their body does.
Oh.
Now, and they do their moves.
Okay.
Okay? They do their moves. Now, it looks like I'm wiggling right now. My moves, I'm going to do this. My head's going to disappear, but it's okay. You don't need to see my face. My moves are in my hips. Okay?
Okay.
My moves are in my hips and my legs. And all, now look at that. I look, and she taught me this.
All right.
So
Graceful.
yeah. Now I gotta sit down again. Because I'm in the point is, if I just use my hips and my legs, and I can move like a dancer.
Yes.
And
Yes,
so
you can.
here's a distinction. Remember those distinctions?
Okay. Yes.
Now a distinction is, I'm a dancer. And I can do that. And then I meet Jennifer McDonald, and she's like, well, you're a dancer. It's because, okay. So what I realized for Dance Into Your Power is I've been dancing the back door in.
Oh.
Okay? I've been dancing metaphorically. I've been
Okay.
dancing emotionally. I've been teaching people how to dance in circumstances. So I wanted to be sure that I mentioned the 3 beliefs, the 3 abilities, and the 3 actions that are about the journey to powerful presence. And dancing is a part of that.
Okay. That's key. That's
Yeah.
and that makes it easier for a person to think about it.
Yeah. So dancing is a choice. You can trudge if you want to, but what if you just moved your feet a little? You know, what if you just went like this? And what if you just moved like this?
Yes.
And yeah. And so that's what I'm talking about. And some people grow up in families and cultures, and they dance, and it gives you a flexibility. Now, some of us are told dancing is wrong and you shouldn't do it. Well, guess what? You get emotionally inflexible.
Yes.
And you start to be ashamed of yourself and how you move, and you think you're not okay. And when you realize that dancing is a God-given gift,
Yes.
and that all of us have 5 or 6 moves, they're not all the same moves.
Right.
And think about Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
He didn't dance the way everybody danced. He made up his own moves, and everybody's doing his dance.
Right.
Absolutely. Isadora Duncan was another person, and I'm learning about modern dance right now. I'm in a dance class now.
Oh no!
and everyone in the class is like a teenager, and my teacher's awesome. So a little plug for Inlet Dance Theater.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and I don't have to be perfect. I just have to move.
That's right.
And learn.
That's right.
And that's like life. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to move.
So let's get going. Stop procrastinating.
And procrastinating is a dance.
Fears.
Do the procrastination. It's like, I'm going to procrastinate. Just go ahead and dance with it. Then you start laughing, all right, I'm done with that. Then you can do something else.
Okay.
But you don't have to shame yourself. Okay. You know what I mean?
And you're right. We do that.
Yes. It's more playful.
Yes. Is there anything else that you want to share, about the book or anything in particular?
You love that story.
But one thing that you didn't mention is that you're a Navy woman.
That's right.
Navy girl.
I used to sandblast and paint submarines. We need to get that on this video. Yeah. I used to sandblast and paint submarines. So I ran away from home at 17. I turned 21 in boot camp.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. $60 a week was wonderful, and $42 a month for but you can only do that for so long before ADHD girl gets a little bored. I worked every retail, neighborhood youth corps. I did everything I could, and I think your purpose moves you.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to get married and have a bunch of kids. I have no children.
Okay.
I looked at, I remember my mother saying, I'm going to change my name. And we were like, okay, great. And she said, I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, no.
And I thought, okay, pay attention to that. So what I learned later is that mothers with ADHD have a much harder time.
Okay.
Because really what you need to, it takes a village to raise a child. Okay. You really need to have some farmer stuff in you to manage a household and the children. And those of us who are, wired like ADHD, it's much harder for us to do those things that society says we need to do. So fortunately, I made that decision, not knowing it.
Right.
But fortunately, that was the right decision to make, because this is my child.
That's it.
And my 5 books are my child.
Absolutely. If you have 5 book children and all your clients that you take.
Well, yeah. I mean, because motherhood is really, you can do it with children. You can do it with, a country. Mother Teresa was a mother. Okay, Michelle Obama is doing it with a country and all those little children that she's working with about eating and obesity. So she has her own children, and yet she mothers other children.
Yes.
The women there was a woman named Gwen Nichols who saved my life. She was my first therapist, and she saved my life. I actually, it was like, okay, here's my life. I have 2 choices: suicide or therapy. Okay. And for those of you that are thinking, I want you to hear that sometimes it feels like that's the choice.
Yeah.
She saved my life. She mothered me. She absolutely mothered me.
Wow.
Yeah. And I dedicated the book to her. She changed my life. And she started me on a journey to powerful presence.
Okay. How did you know or want or desire to go to therapy?
That's a great question. I was either going to die or get help.
Okay. But it was enough fight inside of you to make the better choice.
And that's the thing that's so funny that you say that. There was enough. At the time, I was sandblasting and painting submarines. I was the first woman to make rate on my ship.
Okay.
So when they started putting women on ships in 1975. Okay. So I'm working with guys. They don't want me there. Their wives don't want me there. It's just so. I feel like my family doesn't want me. That may or may not have been the truth. That was my experience. So here I am, more places where they just don't want me. Kind of made me mad.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went to her, I said, look, my life is a mess, and you need to fix it. And she kind of sat back and went, one of those, okay. And the most important thing she told me to do was to go home and look in my eyes in the mirror. And it's something that I've been teaching for the last 20 years. Go home and look in your eyes in the mirror. Because most of us, especially as women, we don't do that.
No.
And she said, I want you to see who's there. Because you and I together can save your life. You and I together, we can do this together. But I want you to know who we're working with.
Okay.
And my favorite thing is, one day when I went in, she said, I want to work on your anger. I'm like, I'm not angry. She goes, you are. I said, no, I'm not angry. She said, okay, here's what I want you to do. This is one of my favorite stories. She said, I want you to punch this chair. And they have to get wooden chair with leather cushions, 1977.
Oh, goodness.
Old, heavy, not
Yes,
like they make
that's
chairs
right.
now. Okay, old. Okay, she said, I just want you to punch this chair. I'm like, No, I'm like 24. Punching the chair. She said, come on. Put some elbow behind that, like when you sandblast and paint submarines.
Yeah.
I didn't know that your arm could actually be like a battering ram. I didn't know, and here's another thing about dancing. When you're dancing, you can fling that.
Yeah.
You don't have to hold it, you know what I mean? And you don't have to do that with it. You can do that with it.
Right.
I didn't know that then. I broke the chair.
Wow.
Now, my favorite thing is that she still stayed my therapist. And she
that's why she had you break the chair so you wouldn't break her.
well, but it's like she could read me. And
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
and she clapped. She said, okay, good. Now that we've got that on the table, now we can work on your anger. She was awesome.
Wow.
She was
Yeah,
amazing.
she was.
And she, and I, what's most important about this book,
Mm-hmm.
with all the important things about it, is that Gwen Nichols planted a seed in me. That I hope this book plants a seed in you. And so she told me once that it was important that I be successful. I wasn't feeling successful when I knew her.
Okay.
It was important that I had a successful life because there was somebody waiting for me
That's right.
who needed to hear what I had to say. And if I didn't say it, they wouldn't hear it. And it was important that I understood that that was why I was working with her and cleaning up my life and all that. And this book is my thank you note to Gwen Nichols, who really is the reason that I started on the journey, and so many things that she taught me I still use, and I use with my own clients.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've danced into your powerful presence.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. And give us your website.
My website is easy. It's my name,
Okay.
Maia, M-A-I-A, Beatty, B-E-A-T-T-Y.com.
Okay.
And there's lots of exciting things on there. And another exciting project by Chuck Beatty, love of my life, Vice President of Details, website designer, book designer. How fun is that? How
Yes.
lucky am I?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to be seeing you around. I don't want to date the show, but the book launch is just,
The
during
book launch is the same date as the video launch. Thank you so much, Audrey. October 15th, Monday, October 15th. And you can see it on MakeSomethingHappen.TV.
That's right.
And you can also will be able to see it on my website as well. So the gift of the timing of this is just amazing.
Yes,
and I just can't thank you enough, Audrey.
You're welcome. I want to help you. This is just great. I'm so excited for you. So thanks again. And you go out and you make something awesome happen in your world today. And remember to show up and be present and let your powerful presence come through. And get our book, Dance into Your Power. Take care.
Thank you.